I would say that the average practice does not have an in-house like marketing leader. They might have a marketing coordinator who posts on their social media and sends their email blasts, and maybe does a lot of intake from companies like Influx of understanding what's going on with SEO or paid search. Not a lot of subject matter experts like owning a marketing role in a practice, and that's where the fractional CMO work comes into play.
We're back here at the Aesthetic Meet in Boston, and I'm here with Josh Suchanek, Marketing Director of Skytale. Josh, how you doing?
I can't complain, man. We're in Boston. It's 75 and sunny today. Like it is a beautiful day to be inside a convention center.
Yeah, I know. We'll get out of here soon. Hopefully there'll be a little bit of sunlight left. It is a beautiful day, though. I ran out for lunch, and it's gorgeous. Way better than the last few dreary days that we had here.
It was very cold yesterday.
Yes,
cold.
But the show's been good for you so far?
The show's been incredible. Obviously, it's always great to connect with old friends, make new ones. I spoke earlier today, and whenever you're on a panel, it's kind of a dealer's choice of questions, and so Q&A is always a lot of fun. So I've really enjoyed that.
Good. Well, we work together a lot, and I want to talk to our listenership here a little bit about some things that you're working on. But first, just for anyone who's not familiar, obviously Skytale has, and we were just talking about this, has a couple components to what it does, but one side of that is management consulting, and within that, there's operational consulting, there's fractional CFO services, and then there's fractional CMO or marketing consulting services that you provide, right? Will you tell us a little bit about that?
That is correct. So as a marketing director, I lead our marketing advisory practice. And so I'm brought in a couple of ways, primarily working with aesthetics practices, whether it be surgical, non-surgical aesthetics, wellness, cosmetic dermatology, all areas of focus that I work on. I'm generally brought in to assess and diagnose marketing function. So everyone spends money. I say most everyone spends money on marketing their practice, but not everybody they have inklings or theories about the way that their marketing is running, but sometimes they're looking for an outside, third-party expert to come in and just audit their current marketing plan and make sure that, it's like a white spaces document. Like, hey, I'm investing in these areas. Are those the correct areas to be investing in? Are there missed opportunities that I'm not seeing because I'm just not asking the right questions or working with the right people? So I get brought in to do marketing assessments primarily. And from that, when I'm building a strategic marketing plan, along with any plan, if you hand someone a 30, 40-page document that quantifies their problems, they look through it and the first thing they ask is, well, who's going to help me with all this? Like, who does this for me? And I would say that the average practice does not have an in-house marketing leader. They might have a marketing coordinator who posts on their social media and sends their email blasts, and maybe does a lot of intake from companies like Influx of understanding what's going on with SEO or paid search. But not a lot of subject matter experts like owning a marketing role in a practice. And that's where the fractional CMO work comes into play. Is we actually are a representation and a liaison from the practice and the third party or internal team members they utilize for marketing. And we make sure that all of the work that's being done is in alignment with the strategic plan that we've put forth and that the dollars being invested are being actualized. That's like the overarching outcome of what we try to achieve.
Makes a lot of sense. Obviously, we've seen it in action, and what you're saying, and again, I've seen this in action, is that you're not replacing the marketing coordinator or marketing point person in the practice. You're not replacing the agency, but you are making sure that there is, which I think is so important, a marketing plan that is well aligned with the overall business plan, that understands everything on the other side of the business, that understands all the numbers and the goals of the practice owner. And then you're making sure that that's implemented
100%.
And staying on plan.
Yeah. And I think that, don't get me wrong, when I come in to do an assessment, you meet everybody at a unique point in time, right? Like by the time they're bringing in an expert that they're hiring to assess marketing function, there's generally a level of concern, right? Like they're like, I'm just not sure that we're doing the right things. And I think a lot of time the burden of that, a lot of times the person who's on the short end of that is the business owner, right? Like they feel like, hey, I'm not actualizing my investment. I'm wasting money, is what they primarily think. And it's usually someone else's fault, right? It's like, oh, my marketing company isn't doing a good job. Or I have this marketing coordinator and they're a great tasker, but they're not a strategic thought leader. They're not moving me forward. I would say, 60% of the time when I'm brought in, the thought process is that someone needs to change, whether the marketing company changes or whether this marketing coordinator gets replaced. It's not that that never happens, but a lot of times what I find out like within the like diagnosis project is like, hey, you have a marketing coordinator and the amount of responsibilities that this person has is just not realistic. Like they're not supposed to be experts at 10 different things, right? So sometimes it's just like helping align the practice on like, hey, building out your internal marketing team at like with specific roles and responsibilities. So that way like they can actually succeed, you know? It's actually, I have a practice I'm working on right now. It's a funny story. They have one marketing director, like one marketing team member on their staff. They have 30 locations.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've seen it many times.
30 locations. And the concern when I met with their team was that we don't know if we have the right person in the right seat. After meeting with her twice. So she's wonderful. Like super knowledgeable, hardworking. It's just impossible to keep up with 30 sets of opinions all at the same time. Like it's not feasible, right? Yeah. And so I actually got a call from the COO of that practice the other day, and they said, "Hey, I see her in an entirely different light than I did previously. I really respect the work that she's bringing to the table, and I realize that we haven't been putting enough support beneath her to make sure that she can get the work done she needs to." And that's a victory for me. Like I think people think I come in and I'm gonna like pick apart a marketing company and I'm going to find you a better one. Like, oh, like your marketing company sucks. You're going to go work with a premier agency and like, we're going to move everything around. Change management is horrible. It adds lag time, wasted and like sunk costs into bad investments. Like it is much easier for me to come in and retool a strategy and keep people in place than it is to change everything for fun. Like, I don't want to do that. It's not my goal. If I'm making the recommendation like, hey, that you have bad partners or the wrong people in the wrong seats, we're gonna make those changes, it's because I want that to be like clearly illustrated in like a data-driven decision where I'm like, hey, here's what I'm seeing and why I would make that choice. Because if I bring a new customer to Influx, it's 3, 4, sometimes 5 months that we're working on a website build. If I could have spent 3, 4, 5 months retooling like a paid ad strategy or an SEO plan, like that would have been much more efficient than starting over building a new website.
Absolutely.
So I think people might look at me like I'm going to come in and be the Grim Reaper, but really I would much rather like foster like a better collaborative environment among whatever teams they have in place, if it's possible.
Yeah, I agree. If you have close to the right pieces and you just need to fine tune some things, there can be a lot of waste in coming in like a sledgehammer. And we have seen that. And you're right. There are probably times when there is something that's not a fit and they should get that advice if that's the case. But oftentimes there's a lot of fine tuning. And what I've seen in our work with you is there's a lot of just much the way you did with that one employee where you message to their employer that, hey, you know, they maybe need a little more support. You're able to sit on that side and unbiasedly advise them and give them some guidance and education that they need. And it's so helpful to us also because when a practice comes to us with a real strategy with clear needs and wants, then we can execute around that. We all know what the goal, where the goalpost is. And that alignment goes so far towards us getting great results. I mean, I say our best accounts are always the ones that resemble a partnership, you know, and you can really help to bring that partnership together. That's my observation.
It's funny because I got into this line of work very organically because I had a friend of mine who was a plastic surgeon, and he was debating hiring like an internal marketing lead. And he said, hey, I've been thinking about hiring like a marketing director or a CMO, like VP of marketing, whatever you want to call it, right? He's like, I just need someone who can help like think strategically and move things forward. And at the time with like most provider-led businesses, either the doctor is the primary decision maker or that is, you know, or it's delegated to an office manager who also does HR and payroll, right? Like it's literally just like another hat that person has to wear. And so he's like, what do you think about hiring a marketing leader? And I was like, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great if you could have like a strategic thinker on your team that could help move things forward, because it's not the highest and best use of your time as a provider-led owner to like make those decisions. And he told me, he said, okay, great. What should this person know how to do? Like, right, what are their qualifications, right? Because I've never hired this person. What should they know how to do? And so as I was kind of going over that with them, they said, okay, great. Now, how should I manage them? Like, how do I know if they're doing a good job? Like, what are the KPIs that I will measure? Like, and what's the meeting cadence and what should I expect from this person? And that really unlocked a line of thinking for me of going like, wow, the thing that plastic surgeons need in their practice, they've never hired and they've never managed, and then we want them to be successful. That's not reasonable, right? And so the spirit of like me becoming a fractional CMO is like, well, okay, what if I could take the decade plus experience I have in marketing plastic surgeons, and then I could collaborate with agencies like yours, and we could just have higher level conversations and make the practice more agile and more informed. And then it saves them time and ultimately saves them money, because hiring a fractional executive is far superior to hiring a full-time employee that you've never managed before.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, and yeah, the expertise that you can bring to bear, and oftentimes they're pulling in people who maybe are in marketing, and maybe they're very smart people, but they don't have the experience you have. So to be able to get a piece of that from you, and while you are only doing it on a fractional basis, it's still incredibly more valuable to them than someone who's learning the industry on the job.
And I think another like value component to just like our offering in general is it's month to month.
Right.
Like, meaning like, hey, I want people to utilize our services as long as they feel like they're valuable. Like if we're providing great value and you want to continue to pay for it, awesome. But I have practices that I've been in that were supposed to be temporary, and I've been there for 3+ years. And I have practices who are just like, okay, we're in the middle of switching our web team, this website project, getting everything up and running. This is going to be like a 6-month sprint that we just don't have capacity for. Can you come help with that?
Yeah.
And then I'm there for 6-7 months and I'm on my way. And my goal is to just leave a practice better than I found it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's another like thing is, and I think you guys kind of like lean into the same spirit as well, as like everything that I would encourage a practice to do, like implement a piece of technology, sign with a new vendor, those relationships and the assets they buy belong to them. Meaning like I'm trying to build a system that far outlives my relationship with any practice. Like if I can fast forward 2 years down the road and I found them a quality marketing partner and their business is succeeding, like after I've left, then I'm like a happy camper, you know, like, cause that's the goal, is just get them where they need to go. What does this person need today? And if I can help deliver that, then I will.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you do it, and you have, as you said, a wealth of information to tap into with your experience specifically in plastic surgery marketing. And you need to, I think you need to really have deep industry knowledge to be able to kind of jump in the way that you do into all of these different situations and understand the nuances of what this practice needs versus that practice. Okay, good. 6-month sprint. Hey, we might need to be with you a little bit longer, but to be able to tailor that to really tailor your services to practices as different phases is really cool, and takes someone who can really think flexibly. But that brings me to another question, which is, do practices come to you when they're, obviously you mentioned there may be some crisis management, there's some concern, but also when they're maybe looking to get, obviously Skytale's other side of Skytale's business is sell side investment banking. Do they also come to you looking to shore up their marketing before going out to market? Is that specifically a service, or is it really separated?
At Skytale, there's a different like separation of church and state when it comes to investment banking. Like we even work within like code names internally just for regulation purposes. Like we try not to talk about who we're working with on what, and there's like a level of, integrity and privacy that happens with that. But I will say that like people do come to me at like different components. Sometimes it's oftentimes it's the pain point, right? Like I'm concerned something's not working. Sometimes it's, I just had a great conversation a couple of days ago with a facial plastic surgeon, a really established facial plastic surgery practice. They've been in practice for 15 years, have always done facelifts, rhinoplasties, brow lifts, right? And they were like, you know what? We're adding a breast and body surgeon. So it's an entirely new capability. They've marketed plastic surgery, but they've always been a facial plastic surgery clinic. What's the go-to-market strategy for that? We've never run ads for it. We've never had to generate content for it. We have no idea what the competitive landscape looks like for it. So like, can you help us with like a go-to-market strategy for a new service line? So that happens a lot.
So like really project-based in that way.
Yeah, it's everybody like, Annie at Skytale always says like, what does this person need? And so kind of going into, when I go into conversations with, surgeons or medical spa owners, it's really like my goal is to approach it with a sense of curiosity, because like it might be some very niche need that like maybe I've solved a version of for somebody else, and how can I build upon, like in my experience, like help them solve that problem faster. So.
What's really valuable service to ask that question, what do they need? And again, to be able to fluidly think with, okay, they need this, therefore their strategic plan might look a little different than my other clients. And in many cases, the misalignment that I'm sure you're resolving is because with any service, an agency, namely here, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. And if the client has not effectively conveyed what they need, then they might just not be getting what they need. So if you're making sure that's occurring, then they can often, oh, okay, that's what you need. We got you. And then you can really you can drive alignment that way.
Yeah. And I think like it's kind of problem solving as a whole, right? Because like I talked earlier about how like the problems that they're experiencing, or like even like the perceived problems, like they're real. Everyone's opinion's valid, right? But if the outcome is like, oh, well, I'm only doing these things because I think it'll make me busier, like, well, like maybe those are the things you need to do, but like there's also all of these other opportunities that we could explore, right? And sometimes it just takes stepping back a little bit and like asking the right questions and really hearing people. Like if I just bulldoze into every practice and was like, oh, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, like I fired up ads here, there, and everywhere, and now look, you're going to be busy, like that would make me a really bad problem solver, right? Like it's not any level of sort of intentionality to it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level of fatigue. You guys obviously probably seen it at Influx. Is like, you know, how many conversations have you had this weekend with people who are just like, yeah, not sure that my marketing company is doing a good job, and I want to see what you have to offer. Like that's the entire.
We try to discourage that level of, you know, that lack of sophistication in approach, because I think that is common. You know, say let me just try a different marketing company, because there's not enough maybe nuanced understanding to think about it differently. Just try something different. Yeah, but they're going to run into the same problem again.
Yeah, so I guess too, is like putting my position, switching the roles a little bit as interviewer here. Like,
yeah, let's go.
Just curious, like, you know, what percentage of Influx's customers would you say that you're either someone's second or third marketing company?
Oh gosh, these days it's a high percentage. It's well over 50%.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be way over 50%.
Yes, it is. It is so, for sure. We are definitely oftentimes not their first. And honestly, I'll say this candidly: when we are their first, we know that they're figuring out a lot of things. There is value in them having understood what else is out there. I will just put it that way.
I agree. Yes. Wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Wholeheartedly. You kind of appreciate things from a different set of lenses when you've had a poor experience in the past.
Yeah. And when you understand, again, that it does need to be a partnership, mostly so we understand the nuances of your practice, and we're not simply just painting with one big broad brush the same we do for all clients. And it's amazing. This to me is where I do think AI is already playing a huge role in what we do, but it hasn't, certain things it has not fundamentally touched, and certain things I think it'll take a while, because you would think we do a certain set of things. We are very good with a certain marketing channels, and we can apply, there's only certain things that are good to be outsourced. So we say these are the that work well in an outsourced capacity. So we say these are things we focus on. But it's amazing how much of a nuanced approach we still have to take to each of those channels based on the particular set of needs for each, just the complexion of that business, which is the thing you take the time to understand. We try to do that as well, but you're able to enhance that even more so when you come in. But it's just painting with broad brushes. And I just think about this in relation to AI. It's going to take a long time for it because marketing, when you really take a broad approach, it just falls short. And that's kind of the highlight that I'm hearing in this conversation is we can't just do the same thing for everybody and treat everyone in a cookie cutter capacity.
Well, also too, you, if you want a different result, then you have to try new things, right? Like it's like, so.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many people I've talked to where I've talked to them, they're concerned about their marketing, and then I come up with a strategic plan, and then they don't act on the strategic guidance, and then they come back 3 months later and like, yeah, like it's still not really working, and it's like, well, we're still not doing anything different. Like we're actually doing everything exactly the same, and so.
Sometimes it's so simple.
It could be, and but the truth is too, like like you bring up AI, and so I think that this is interesting. I've sat in a lot of the talks here this week about like generative search and like, you know, AI based search and where that data is pulled. And I sat on a panel today with someone who was talking about how, like, you know, Reddit is like the best place to maximize like your chat GPT results. It's not untrue.
Yeah.
But then the question is like, well, how do you systematically attack Reddit with marketing related content to support that type of search, right? That, like, the tactic is what people are looking for.
Yeah,
like, everybody knows the information. They don't know how to do it.
Right.
And so this is something you and I have talked about previously of like trying to like develop a Reddit strategy. I have like a new hypothesis right now, like, and I haven't bounced this off anybody. So I'm actually just whether this makes it in here or not. Like I'm interested in it. So I was thinking about Real Self the other day. And I was thinking, okay, well, remember like when Real Self was just like this titan of traffic, right? Like it generated so much visibility. And then the Medic update happened and it got kind of crushed by that. And like, that's why I said I wouldn't really put this in here. But like, I was thinking like what made it valuable? And it was the peer supported like knowledge. Like it was the amount of questions being answered, right? Like, and that had a ton of value. And surgeons weren't necessarily answering questions in a way that marketed their business. They were just providing like authoritative perspective on real patient inquiries. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that was cool. Like that was a cool component. It was a taxing component because doctors had to get in there and answer questions. It was kind of a pain in the butt. But the more questions you answered, the more authority your profile had. And there was kind of this just natural synergistic momentum that got built, right? So I was thinking about Reddit the other day and I was thinking like, what if doctors just had profiles and they engaged in answering questions that had nothing to do with promoting their practice and they just provided like authoritative knowledge via Reddit?
I think, did we talk about this in Vegas when we had that dinner and we were talking about what can people do to build up a presence on Reddit?
So we talked about what people can do on Reddit and we talked about how can you like develop and deploy AI strategy specifically towards Reddit. And at the time I thought like whether it's like generating like, this wasn't specifically, but it was like, oh, how do you almost generate like blogs or articles specifically for Reddit? And now what I'm thinking is like if you go to like women over 40, like targeting aesthetic treatments, there's like entire threads of people asking questions about areas you could put Botox and how effective is this treatment. And you as a provider can go contribute to your opinion in there without saying like, hey, go to my practice, right? It can just be like, hey, I'm just knowledge sharing. And so my thought process is like, if the doctor or provider or the practice had a profile and they just contributed like, you know, authoritative insights to the questions that real people were answering, would over time that develop like a synergistic outcome with like better AI visibility? I don't know that.
Well, I think I love where your head's at because I've given people similar advice because obviously what Josh is referring to here is Reddit is a data partner for ChatGPT or OpenAI. And so a lot of times the data that's on Reddit makes its way into search results, into their AI results. Also, I just saw something the other day that said Google is now indexing actual Reddit results independently. So the data on Reddit is really the questions and answers that kind of happen on these Reddit forums or their subreddits is really valuable towards getting your practice, your brand, your voice in generative search results. And so, but the thing is, if you try to spam that, Reddit will filter that. So if you try to have people go on there and mention your name and your business and link back to you, Reddit will figure that out. They're very good at that. Yeah. So Josh is looking for a way to build up a presence on Reddit. There are people who organically, we have a surgeon who ranks very well and he has a lot of his past patients sharing the results and organically actually talking about him on Reddit. So that happens to work out well. So how do you foster that? You could try to incentivize patients to go have conversations there. But I agree with you. I've said, create a Reddit account, make sure that your business name or your name as a provider is in there. I think that I don't have any concrete evidence, but that you got to correlate it to yourself somehow and go in there and take a real self type approach and just answer these questions magnanimously. It's not a matter of self-promotion. Just put yourself there. There may be opportunities to link to a before and after on your website or something. I'm not saying they won't filter that out. I don't know. Or to a blog article on your website to answer a question more thoroughly. But I think this is a good starting point. Unfortunately, these aren't things that scale very well. And that was what was hard with Real Self. I remember physicians saying, gosh, I feel like I have to sit there and answer questions forever. Surgeons. And I think some of them did begin to sour, feeling like all of their expertise was maybe they weren't being remunerated or enough to make the incentive wasn't there for them to keep doing it, unfortunately, especially when things changed and went a little south there rankings wise for Real Self. But I think for Reddit, it's not something you can outsource to an agency. You need to answer as a provider. The other thing we've seen work, and we've helped some surgeons do this, is AMAs that ask me anything. And we try to pick a controversial subject, schedule an AMA, or a subject that has a lot of interest that will perhaps drive some debate. And they do an Ask Me Anything, which is sort of a hosted forum, open question and answer, open Q&A on a subject where people want to talk to a subject matter expert. And we've generated a lot of traffic to websites and a lot of chatter about that surgeon through doing that. So those are two tactics that work well on Reddit. Hard to scale out to an agency. So we advise them to do it, but we can't really do it for them.
Yeah. So what I've been doing in the practices that I've been like beta testing this idea is I am going through on a weekly basis and aggregating like questions that I think are applicable to their knowledge, like my provider's knowledge. And then what I'm doing is once a week sending, hey, here are 6 or 7 really relevant topics that if you have the capacity to contribute to, I think would be very valuable. And then encouraging them to take 30 minutes on a Friday to just go in and crank out answering those questions. So I'm trying to do the fostering of like an aggregating of the questions I want them to answer, and then trying to put it in their court to do that.
That's a good idea.
I'm only testing this in a couple of areas, but kind of intentionally because I have no proof that it will work, right? Like
It makes sense.
But I just, generally like when you work in marketing, as long as we have like, there's indications that things will work, right? And this has legs to me. Like it's
I agree.
putting
I think I would love to stay in touch on this and track how that goes. I think there was a tool back in the day that would help you to find questions on Reddit and other forums, Quora, for example, and any other random forum with a certain keyword. So it'd be interesting with AI to build something that helps you to just jump to the next question and answer quick. And like you said, do that queuing up work that you're doing. That's really that's at least one way to make it a little easier.
Yeah. So what I'm doing for the customers that I have that I'm testing this on right now, what I've been doing is monitoring like their AI mentions and citations and visibility. And then I'm just tracking how that improves over time as they contribute. It's a two-way street, right? Like I can do the work to foster the questions. I can put them in front of them. I can encourage them to create structure around follow through. I can even measure the outcomes. They still have to participate, right?
Yeah, they would have to.
And that's really with any marketing program that you're doing. Like, there's no real hands-off approach completely. Like,
that's what I mean by the partnership aspect.
They have to partner with you and be willing to do it.
And I'll just tell you this: to the degree that you're hands-off is the same degree that you're marketing, that someone else can be, your competitor could be doing a better job than you, because you can do it on a more outsourced basis, but it only impairs your marketing to the degree that you're not involved. And to the degree that you are able to be involved, we're going to be able to more accurately represent you. We're going to be able to really make sure that it's aligned with everything you do in your practice. By the way, on AI rankings and checking their share of voice on those things, that's a whole new kind of nascent world that there's not a perfect, there's not a perfect standard for how that works yet. We're working on some things. We're working with a partner in the AEO ranking world that's pretty interesting, because we think that there's a strong need to standardize how you actually measure that. And that's not even perfect, because every time you search, it's different. So how do you figure out the true share of voice? And ChatGPT and these other companies are not necessarily sharing that information. They are not sharing that information of, every time a certain keyword was searched, how many times did your business show up? So it takes a lot of process of sort of powers of deduction that have to come into play there. So we're working on some interesting things in that area too, which I'll tell you about more as we progress.
As you feel willing to share them, I will be willing to listen.
Yes, I will definitely share. Okay, before we wrap it up, and we're doing little mini episodes. This has turned into more than a mini episode, but you and I have lots to talk about, so I'm not surprised. But you're working on something new that you've been kind enough to include us in, which is the aesthetic. Tell me again, the Aesthetic Collective.
Aesthetic Growth Collective.
Aesthetic Growth Collective. I was blanking on the name Growth. And we're excited to be affiliated with it, but I would love to talk about that a little bit as a final thing here before we close out. Will you tell us about it?
Yeah, we have a number of really great strategic partners that we've tapped into to work on this with us. We have obviously Influx. We have Line, who is a AI-powered marketing attribution and call tracking platform. We work with Fifth and Core, who's kind of bringing their perspective on social media and PR development, and then Pinpoint Creative, who's, I think, largely considered the best branding group within the aesthetics industry. So we've got some heavy hitters that are kind of contributing to our curriculum. The idea of the Aesthetics Growth Collective, like the spirit of it, is trying to create focused learning environments to tackle like new and complex marketing like topics, and then creating small groups of practices where they are paired with other competitive practices. And so to give a very tangible example, if you have a 4-location practice in South Florida and you're a med spa and you do 10 to 12 million in revenue, we're trying to pair you with other multi-location med spas at similar revenue numbers that might be in New York or Chicago or South Carolina. And the idea is, yes, you can come and have focused learning time from subject matter experts like me and the sponsors that we have, but also it's a networking opportunity to bounce ideas and problem solving statements off of other practice owners that are built similarly to themselves. And I think that really what gets what I started to feel like is just like there's so much power in knowledge sharing, right?
Yeah.
Like learning from other people's mistakes.
Mhm.
Like there's so much power in that, and no one really fosters an environment for people to do that, right? Like, and so when something doesn't exist, we talked about this earlier. My motivation is to say, cool, let's make it. Like it doesn't exist, so let's make it ourselves, right? And that's part of Skytale's broader vision to be like associated as a thought leader within the market. And so to be a thought leader, you have to lead, right? And so I felt really strongly about making this program. Applications for it have been coming in and interest seems very high. I think we're going to be coming up with, if I'm not mistaken, about at least 3 or 4 segmented cohorts to start our curriculum plan in June, which is very, very exciting. Still room for more applicants, so we could always talk about that. But the idea here is that we want to give you a focused environment to get thought leadership, tackle complex subjects, hear from other your like-minded peers, and then hopefully what you do is you feel like you have a safe space to like learn and grow your practice.
That's great. So where do people, if they do want to apply, you said applications are still open, where do they go?
Yeah, applications are still open. We're going to be accepting applications through the end of this month. If they want to apply, they can go to skytalegroup.com. Or obviously if they're a customer or affiliated with Influx, Pinpoint, Fifth and Core, Align, could always get great information about being able to join the program. It's designed to be very affordable. We wanted it to be an accessible, group that people could join. And then, we feel really strongly about the curriculum plan that we've put together. It's a 6-month program.
Cool.
That is a 6-month commitment. We're trying to make sure like the integrity of each cohort is respected. We don't want people who are coming in and being like, oh, I'll just watch the session online. It's like, no, like we need you to come to the group and contribute and knowledge share. Like that's part of the value. So we are screening all applicants and making sure that they're fit and committed to the program. And so far we've got a lot of really, really strong applicants.
That's great. I think it's something the space needs. I think the way that you're making sure that people can have peers to share with, but that are not in the same market is very wise. And then I also think there's a lot of random information being thrown around in the space, whether it be through a webinar or a blog or coming to a conference, but to have it actually built into a linear curriculum is, I think, probably going to be a great value. And then adding in the peer sort of mastermind group aspect of it. Really cool.
It's all going to be virtual. So it's 6 virtual sessions. They'll all be about 90 minutes in length. And so it's a pretty digestible and like it's an agreeable set of time that people can lend. But we are doing one in-person session that'll be held at our HQ in Dallas. And that'll be a power session. It'll be 6 hours in length, but it'll be all dedicated to AEO, GEO, SEO. So we'll be working on getting Erica involved in that curriculum as well. What I thought about was, part of the spirit of getting sponsors like yourselves to participate was I don't think anybody wants to listen to me talk for 6 hours. Like, right. Like it's, I think I'm pretty fun and interesting, but I don't think anybody wants to listen to me talk for 6 hours.
You have a wealth of knowledge to share, but I do think the breakup and getting different subject matter experts is a great idea.
Different perspectives and like obviously different sets of experiences. And there's like, I think that even myself, like I'm never the smartest person in the room. Like I shouldn't be, right? Like there's people that you can learn from. And so that's why people listen to podcasts. That's why they go to the talks, because they're looking for a nugget, right? And so if you come to our cohort, whether you get a nugget from me or one of our sponsors or another member of the group, then it'll be valuable.
Absolutely. And so then if people, okay, great. So you can check that out at skytale.com,
Skytale Group.
Group.com. Thank you. Sorry, I forgot. If people want to learn more about the fractional CMO services, do they go there or do they reach out to you directly?
They could also go to skytalegroup.com. We have a lot of information about our marketing advisory practice. We talk about our marketing evaluations. We talk about sort of the fractional CMO work that we do. We have some case studies involved in that of how we've helped people, but then obviously people can reach out to me directly. I'm always happy to learn about the problems plaguing a practice related to marketing, and if I could be a resource for them, then I love that.
Great. Where do they find you? If they want to reach out direct, do you want them to reach out direct? Or you want to just go to skytalegroup.com?
They can go to skytalegroup.com. Find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for your time, Josh. I appreciate it. This was really cool.
Thank you.
We should do a follow-up, talk about all of these things, the AI tracking, the Reddit stuff, and the aesthetic growth collective, because I'm really excited to be a part of that too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Bye.